Hey, y'all. Happy Thursday, and welcome back to another edition and our final conversation in our Boots on the Ground HBCU Summer Wind Down series. Can y'all believe August is almost over? My name is Diashin Terrell, the program coordinator here at In Our Own Voice, National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Agenda. And I just want to start off by saying thank you all. I appreciate you guys for taking this journey with us all month long within our summer wind down series. Each Thursday this month of August, we have been highlighting powerful voices from across HBCU campuses, uplifting the student leaders, organizers, advocates, organizations who are advocating for reproductive justice where they are and what they want to see in the future. And today we're bringing it home, having a homegrown conversation, focusing on the power of youth in the movement. And today we are so excited to talk about what's next. Youth leadership isn't just the future of reproductive justice. No, we're talking about the current, the present, and students are organizing, educating, and building coalitions and shifting culture in real time. And nowhere is it more clear than our HBCU campuses, where history and legacy meet urgency, imagination, creativity, and community cultivation. And we'll be talking about that and why youth voices matter, what they bring to this movement. And no one else can and knows what that knows what that look like better than our future if they're not included but are leading, and that's our students. And I could not ask for a better person to have this conversation with than our very own Giovante Bishop, who serves as the Director of Programs and Training here at In Our Own Voice, National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Agenda, and someone who has been leading the charge and whose leadership has shaped this series and this entire program of the Next Generation Leadership Institute from its very humble beginnings. Giovante, hello. I would love for you to introduce yourself and share a little bit more about the work you have been doing in this movement, especially in regards to our very own Next Generation Leadership Institute.
Thank you so much, Diogene, for that very warm and welcoming introduction. I greatly appreciate it. And I honestly cannot believe that we have wound down to our final conversation. And I am sincerely thrilled to be able to lead this particular conversation, centering the power of youth voices in the reproductive justice movement. So, as Diogene mentioned, my name is Giovante Bishop, and I have the distinct honor of serving as the Director of Programs and Training here at In Our Own Voice, the National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Agenda. And within my role, I have the honor of serving alongside some of the brightest rising stars within the reproductive justice movement. These young people are passionate. These young people are truly leaders, and they are the future of the reproductive justice movement. So, my work focuses on centering them and ensuring that they have every tool, every resource, and every bit of support that they need to actualize the future of RJ. So that's a little bit about my work, but I do want to take a moment to thank Diogene and her thought leadership in leading this conversation. We are going to go out with a bang today.
And I'm glad that you said out with a bang because today we're going to discuss so many things. And I really want to kick us off into one of our first topics, which is discussing the power of youth advocacy in the reproductive justice movement and the role of HBCUs and how they play into it. Giovante, one of the things that came up in every conversation this month is how central youth leadership is to the reproductive justice movement, not just in energy and performing certain tasks, but in the strategy and the creation and pushing the movement forward through creativity and through a strategic vision. So let's talk about that more directly. Why do you believe that youth leadership is essential to the future and in the present, in the now, for the reproductive justice movement?
Thank you for that question. So I believe that youth leadership is absolutely vital to the future of the reproductive justice movement. I believe that without young people taking on the mantle of leadership, this movement will actually go stagnant. And the simple truth is, young people are the life's blood of this movement. We need young people at the helm of leadership. And in all honesty, that is where programs like the Next Generation Leadership Institute take shape. We see firsthand how young people within the Next Generation Leadership Institute are driving progress for the movement. Our students are building a future where reproductive justice is a reality for all. So, what this looks like in practice is our young people are bringing fresh, revolutionary, radical perspectives to approaching reproductive justice that we haven't seen before. So, in essence, we can't sleep on our young folks because our young folks are driving the reproductive justice movement forward and serving as catalysts for change. So, that's what I believe young people are serving within the present and the broader future of this movement.
I love how you said fresh ideas, cultivating a space where they're pushing boundaries, giving feedback, and I even say seeing the gaps to which we need to fill. We've discussed in this conversation series that this movement is so interconnected with other spaces. It's about power building. It's about making sure it's connecting on other movements and bringing folks in from the margins to the center. So understanding that this is exactly something that we see every day within the Next Generation Leadership Institute. Young people aren't just learning about reproductive justice; they're living it, leading it, and transforming it to what they want to see in the future. And when we talk about building that leadership, we cannot ignore how uniquely powerful HBCUs are in this work. So, to move us right along into my next question, why are HBCUs so essential to mobilizing youth advocates in the reproductive justice space? And what makes them such a critical organizing ground?
That is a fabulous question because I believe HBCUs are essential to elevating and advancing the reproductive justice movement. So, here at In Our Own Voice, we have long recognized that HBCUs serve a critical role in advancing our movement because we understand that HBCUs have long been at the heart of social change throughout this country. So, HBCUs have a long standing tradition of serving as hubs for movement building. And what comes to mind when I think of that long standing history of activism, organizing, mobilizing, is the civil rights movement. And distilling that down just a bit and providing some examples. Where HBCU students have led and have been at the forefront of leading movements. I think of the four courageous students from North Carolina A&T who led the Greensboro sit-ins. It is that sort of legacy that the Next Generation Leadership Institute sits upon. Those students were courageous, and I see that same boldness, innovative spirit within our students. And with this is the legacy of HBCUs, and it's literally ingrained and embedded into HBCUs across the nation. And due to that, I do want to speak to how the Next Generation Leadership Institute came to fruition. The Next Generation Leadership Institute was built to fortify our commitment to centering, empowering, and resourcing HBCU students. specifically because of that long history and tradition that I spoke to earlier. So we launched the Next Generation Leadership Institute to serve as a formal pipeline to connect HBCU students to the reproductive justice movement, because we understood that the future of RJ lies in the hands of HBCU students, and we can't move forward without them.
Absolutely. You have said a mouthful and then some, and I just want to really hone in on the space that HBCUs have always been a central hub for activating and mobilizing from some of the first women on campus of Howard University going out and striving for their first activation within the Women's March for women's suffrage, down to, as you noted, the students at North Carolina A&T fighting for civil rights, talking about what our current students are doing to discuss pleasure and menstrual equity on their campus. They are standing on the shoulders of giants, uplifting this work and moving and pressing us forward, talking about some of the most pressing issues. HBCUs are not just schools, they are community hubs, they're centers for movement incubators and a home, an emphasis on a home for some of the most brilliant minds and bold youth organizers we have seen since the inception of each institution. And no HBCU is the same. All of them have something different to offer and create cultivating spaces for community and growth and development in our youngest, brightest minds. And that's why it's so important that we're having these conversations, not only to celebrate what's happening, but to expand and expound on what is possible. And as we discuss, like, the visions and the solutions to addressing RJ issues at HBCUs, Giovante, you spoke earlier uh, about why HBCUs are so essential to this work and why youth leaders are central to moving the reproductive justice movement forward. Now, let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's talk about the folks who have the power to either support or suppress, and that leadership. And that looks like it could be faculties, staff, other students, institutional leaders. And from your experience, what does that look like? What does it look like to build sustainable student coalitions at HBCUs? And what kind of support makes a difference?
Yes. So, from my experience, building sustainable student coalitions starts when HBCUs cultivate a culture that uplifts student success as a integral part of the university's infrastructure. So, what that looks like is creating spaces where students are valued, where students feel supported, and where students can sustain their work and the momentum that they created throughout their 4-year tenure and pass it down year after year. So at our HBCUs, we are looking for institutions who are investing in students within their leadership, within their full on student development. And that looks like cultivating spaces where mentorship is happening, where students have accessible access to resources. And I want to stress that again, accessible access to resources. And that means funding students' projects as well. So students don't have to carry this work alone. I do believe that some of that should be carried by the institution themselves. And I think that we can't get to the heart of successful student coalition building if we don't have student success integrated at the forefront within the infrastructure of these institutions. So universities cannot be succeeding if students are failing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there, I do want to, I guess, note within that system that Students also have an active role to play, so it is not just on the shoulders of faculty and staff. While faculty and staff should be leading these efforts, by validating students' voices, opening the doors for those resources, ensuring that students have a seat at the table. Students also are institutional leaders, and they have a role to play within building sustainable student coalitions. And what that looks like is students' succession planning, ensuring that they're passing the torch to emerging leaders on campus so that the work that they're doing today continues on after they leave campus. I do want to stress to students that you have a 4-year tenure at your university. You will not be there, after that time. And you want to leave a legacy of impact. And what that looks like is ensuring that the next young leaders have the tools, resources that they need to be equipped to take that legacy forward. So I do believe it is twofold. Again, institutions have a role to play, and students also have a very active role to play within sustaining coalitions long term.
Wow. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I love how you mentioned it being a kind of two-pronged approach, but as well like ensuring that students not only leave well-rounded in the academics, but well-rounded in their personhood and the understanding of how to involve themselves in either campus initiatives, community initiatives, and ensuring that students are met at spaces for success. So that looks like community members and faculty members cultivating spaces where students can be seen, felt, heard, and appreciated. But that's also asking students, come on out, support those things, be in those spaces. We cannot say that the campus doesn't have things if you are not at the function. you
I
cannot
couldn't agree more.
you
You
cannot
are hitting the nail on the head. Yes.
you cannot speak to what the campus doesn't have if you're not there. If you're not shooting in the gym, we can't speak to what's going on. So I appreciate you for saying that because yes, student organizing is powerful, but it's it's kind of difficult to keep organizing on the same thing if we, start one project and then a student leaves and then we got to start all over again and we're constantly restarting over and starting up the same things again. It's like a passing on the baton aspect, so to speak. Sustainability isn't just about passion, it's an infrastructure, as you spoke about earlier, in the relationship building that lasts, in creating and cultivating sustainable relationships. So let's close this out and speak about a bit of visioning, like a vision planning, so to speak. What are your hopes for the future of reproductive justice at HBCUs? And if we get this right, what could it look like in 5, 10? I can't even believe we're going to say 20 years. What does the future of reproductive justice look like at HBCUs to you and in that time frame?
Yes. I think that is such an extraordinary question to pose, because within the Next Generation Leadership Institute, we are always forecasting for the future. But like you stated, when you think about it in a long term strategy and thinking 20 years ahead, it can be a bit weighty, but I'm deeply optimistic when I think about the future of reproductive justice at HBCUs. And I really envision HBCUs as sites or epicenters, if you will, for the reproductive justice movement, where these institutions serve as hubs where there is a ripple effect that touches the entire nation from these campuses, where RJ is the pillar and is the standard. And people are looking to HBCUs to ratify that standard. So in 5, 10, 20 years, And in all honesty, again, I can't believe we're looking forward all the way to 20 years, but I do believe we'll see a future where reproductive justice is actualized. I imagine campuses where period poverty is eradicated, where comprehensive sex ed is the norm and the standard. I see a space where young people have every resource at their disposal, where they can make healthy and informed decisions about their lives, their futures, and their well being. So I see a future at HBCUs where RJ is informing curriculum within the classroom.
Yeah.
I see a future where campus health centers are utilizing the reproductive justice framework to ensure that students are receiving culturally relevant healthcare. And I see a future where students are able to thrive.
Absolutely. Wow. I feel like there is so many things that you have pointed out in so many ways that we can see this future actualize. And I know that we've talked about it a little bit, but I really want to take this moment to big up our students within, excuse me, our fellows within the Next Generation Leadership Institute. They are tackling some of the most pressing RJ issues of our time, from comprehensive sexual health education, menstrual equity, talking about the importance of knowing your rights, getting out to vote, creating safe and brave spaces on their campus, touching more nuanced conversations like pleasure, and ensuring that folks are equipped with, as you said, culturally competent as well as inclusive language and teachings and evidence-based materials, so that they are envisioning and creating a campus and campus community that will be better than what they received when they got there. And so, to all of my fellows, I'm so proud of you for the work that you've done in this cohort, in previous cohorts, and I'm so super excited to see what's going to come to the future in future cohorts, as this work is so ever changing and it's always going to expound and grow. But you are at the front lines at your HBCUs making that change. And the future is bold, and the future that Giovante discussed sounds bold, and it is very possible. And I love that we're ending the series not just with a reflection, but a imagination, a manifestation, if you will, of what is to come for future generations of HBCU scholars, leaders, advocates, faculty members, and everyone in the meantime and in between time. Because it isn't just about one panel or one campaign, it's about building power that lasts and passing the mic forward and continuing to press us into a new horizon. Giovante, again, I just want to thank you for your thought leadership, your vision, your strategic vision, and your constant commitment to uplifting youth voices, not just in theory, but in practice, in continuous action. You center our students' personal, professional development at all opportunities within this program, and your vision for the Next Generation Leadership Institute has really cultivated some amazing leaders. And so, thank you for all
Thank
that you do for
you.
us in the Next Generation Leadership Institute. And before we close out, I want to give you your space. Is there any final words that you would like to leave with our audience of HBCU scholars and advocates and the like?
Absolutely. You know, we couldn't close out without me providing, a final mic drop, if you will.
Absolutely.
So, what I want to leave our student leaders with is to keep leading boldly, keep elevating your voices, keep igniting the torches for the coming generation of leaders. The work that you're doing today is shaping a future for every member of our HBCU community to thrive. So I'm sincerely grateful that I'm able to do this work. It is invigorating, it is refreshing, it is rewarding. I cannot stress that enough. I am so honored and privileged to be able to do this work. The final item that I want to leave you all with is we can actualize a reproductive justice freedom if we keep liberation at the center of our hearts and the power within our hands. So that is what I want to leave everyone with. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their summer as we wind it on down.
Come on, mic drop. She said what she said. We can envision this future now. We cannot have reproductive freedom until we get reproductive justice. We cannot be in this space if we do not think of Sankofa, looking back and seeing where we come from to envision a future and know where we're going. And to everyone who's been with us and rocking with us since our first summer wind down conversation, whether you just joined us today or catching one of the earlier sessions or watching replays or clips, we at In Our Own Voice are so grateful for your energy, your time, your thoughts, your comments throughout this Boots on the Ground summer wind down series. Our HBCUs are always at top of mind when we are pushing and innovating this work. Please know that you can catch all the previous conversations on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Black Women's RJ. So if there's a moment that you've missed or something that you want to write down and, share with the young people in your life or on your campus, run it back, process it, and tag us when you do. And before we close out, we are going to leave you with action items and marching orders to move forward. Again, calling out former HBCU students, current HBCU students, scholars, advocates. You work closely with students. However you align with HBCUs, we need you. We need your voice in shaping the future of reproductive justice on our campuses. Please take a few minutes to fill out the the Next Gen HBCU Reproductive Justice Survey right now. Right now, pull up the link. It's on screen. And it's linked in our bio and on the screen, as I said before. The survey isn't just about data. You're not just a number. We want to hear from you. It gives us direction. It helps us push our programs forward, shape policies, and create and cultivate resources that reflect what students need, what they actually need and want to see on their campuses. I want to thank you again for all being a part of this community with us, a part of our RJ ecosystem, if you will. Keep building, keep advocating, and as always, remember, youth voices are not sideline conversations. They are not just the voices of kids. They're the voices of our future leaders, and they deserve to be moved from the margins to the center. And you guys, thank you again for lending your ears and lending your time to such a impactful and groundbreaking conversation series. And I cannot wait to see you all in the future in IRL, if you will. And until next time, take care of yourselves and keep seeing the reproductive future that you want. Bye, y'all.
In a time when our rights and our lives are under attack, we need bold truths and trusted voices leading the way. Outspoken with Regina brings policy, power, and purpose together, uncensored, unfiltered, and unapologetic. Now streaming wherever you get your podcasts. Follow, subscribe, and speak truth with us. This is Outspoken with Regina, and we're just getting started.